Hey, look, I'm a man of my word. I told you last week I was going to do more genres and touch on the greatest albums of the 21st century so far. I did it with pop music, and we're doing it again. I am sticking to what I said. This week, we're looking at rap albums, hip-hop albums of the 21st century, and we are going to attempt to rank somewhat a cohesive list of the best we've had in the 25 years so far of this century. It's going to be tough, just like it was last week, but we're going to try. And we're going to try our best to explain why these albums are worth being here, and maybe make some people turn their heads a little bit and turn their faces when they don't see an album they wanted to see, because I'm worried about this one, man. Every time I talk about hip-hop on this channel, I get absolutely lambasted in the comments. I get slandered in the comments. You don't know what you're talking about because you didn't have this, you have this, you have this. I will try. But remember, this is only my own personal list. I don't try and do the whole, this album is influential, so I'm having it on this position. This is my personal picks. These are the albums to me. When I listen to them, I love them. They may not be influential, but they may also be influential. That could be a factor. But I think that's a separate list. If I was doing the 25 most influential albums of the 21st century in hip-hop, this would look way different. But it isn't that. So there's no Drake, I'm afraid. There's no Drake. There's no friggin' Drake. And many other rappers that you love that you want to see. We'll see how it goes. But for me personally, this is my list. As always, let me know in the comments what you think of my list, obviously, what your list would look like, what you think should be here, what you think shouldn't be here, what about this placement, what about that placement, and at the very least, if you like what I do, subscribe, check out more videos, like the video, share it around. Maybe if you're feeling generous, check out my Patreon as well. But we're going to dive right into it and give you the 25 best hip-hop albums of the 21st century so far. Let's go. I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. You can hear it in my voice. At number 25, we've got Kanye West, Graduation. Look, I know there's always debates about his discography, this album being better than that, this album being better than that, this album being, like, it can be a bit tedious. People seem to have very differing opinions on what his best albums are. For me, personally, I've just always had a soft spot for Graduation. Absolutely love it. I think you could include multiple albums from Kanye on this list. There is another one coming later on, by the way, so don't worry about that. But I know some people would probably, think that, I don't know, The Life of Pablo is better than Graduation. If you feel that way, that is fine. But for me, I don't know, man. I think this is truly quintessential pop rap. There have been many rappers that have come and gone that have tried to commercialize hip-hop and popify it and make it accessible, make it fun, make it danceable, make it kind of party music on some of these tracks, and to varying degrees of success. It's maybe sold really well, but I don't know if the quality is always quite there. But Kanye, for me, just has a tasteful way of touching this sound and making it so replayable, making it like sound timeless, really. I mean, Flashing Lights, that could come out yesterday and I'd believe you. Honestly, that song sounds really fantastic even to this day. So yeah, I know some people think this album hasn't aged well. I've never really understood that. I think there's a lot of 2000s hip-hop that have aged worse than this. A lot of that era of, like I say, pop rap, blending pop and hip-hop hasn't aged the best all the way, but I think Graduation really has. I think this has aged incredibly well, so it makes the list number 25. Number 24, we got Outkast, Stankonia. Maybe some people would possibly want to see Speakerboxxx, The Love Below, but I don't know, man. Stankonia is undeniable. They're one of those rap groups to me where the top two is like not even up for a debate, in an opposite way to Kanye, where there seems to be a debate about everything he puts out and people have differing opinions. But like, how is Stankonia and Aquemini not in your top two for Outkast? Like, come on, man. But of course, a lot of their work was in the 90s. We unfortunately didn't get much music beyond Speakerboxxx, Love Below. Stankonia stands above those anyway, for me. So yeah, it's got to be here. Love how weird and off-kilter some of these hooks are. So silly. The skits are hilarious. Bring back skits in hip-hop, man. Like, there are some artists that still do skits, obviously, but not like this. Some of these skits are just ridiculous and silly and goofy. I love it. It's great. yeah, no brainer really. Number 23, we've got Jeshi with Universal Credit, which is a British rapper that I've been championing really since this album came out. And as of recording this video, he has just dropped a new album, but Universal Credit is the one for me that I think is going to be very difficult for him to top, because this album is truly fascinating, from the lyrics, the really gloomy and kind of downbeaten production, but it adds to this incredible atmosphere. There are some tracks that go for more like upbeat bangers, of course, as well. But yeah, he really captures what it truly is like to be somebody coming from poverty. He just manages to find a way, the details in his lyrics, those specific references to like mold on the wall, or the actual album cover, which is really kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing about receiving a universal credit bill or whatever payment that you get from the government, but it's like £200 or whatever, and like it just captures that life in the UK for people that really have come from nothing. And I'm not one to think that relatable music means automatically that it's the best music, but there were so many things on this album that for somebody like me who has come from like a pretty poor, deprived background, some of these lyrics really hit hard. It's truly fantastic. I don't know why this album isn't mentioned in conversations ever for British rap albums. I don't get it. I hope one day it gets its flowers, because it's just fantastic to me. Number 22, another British rapper. I promise there aren't going to be too many, but K Tempest, Everybody Down. Love this one. I think you could maybe say Let Them Eat Chaos is a bit better in terms of its like specific angles, with the touching on, you know, UK life and politics. And the album after Let Them Eat Chaos is probably even more overtly political than both of these two combined, actually. But I've always loved K Tempest's debut. I think it has the best hooks. I think it has a really interesting concept. I think the lyrics are super poetic. K is basically like a poet that just also found a way to make rap music too. Yeah, super detailed. Love it. It's great. Flower Boy at number 21. Yeah. Tyler is another artist where you could maybe debate which album's better than this. I don't really want to do all that in this video. I just think I want to go with my own personal feeling. And there will be other Tyler albums here too. I think Tyler has been a massive highlight for the 21st century in all music. I mean, it's becoming a point now where he's become so popular that he kind of is a superstar. And I think Flower Boy was that turning point. It has to be, right? Even if you personally are somebody that defends Cherry Bomb, because a lot of people do love that album, and I get it, fair enough, but you can't deny that Flower Boy turned everything around for Tyler. He really found a way to clean up his sound and make it more mature, touch on topics that were really interesting, fascinating. The production, I think, is improved as well. I love Flower Boy. I think it's great. Super replayable album. One that every summer comes around, I'll just be itching to play it. There's something about it. And I think the longevity of a song like See You Again, 8 years after it's come out, is bigger than it was when it first came out. It's really showing where Tyler is at right now. I think the respect that he never quite got at the start of his career is slowly snowballed into him being a very well-respected rapper. And Flower Boy, I think, was that turning point. Donuts, J Dilla, 20. Like I say, this is a hip-hop list, so I am including instrumental hip-hop albums too. And what can I say? I've talked about this in my essential instrumental hip-hop albums video that I did, I think last year it was. So go check that out for maybe to see me talk about this album and others in far more detail. But come on, man. Donuts is amazing. There's something about this album that feels so joyous. The samples, the production, everything's so lively, everything's so full of life. And the fact that we were stopped from hearing more of music like this is a tragedy. It's awful, really, that we lost J Dilla so early. But yeah, Donuts really is remarkable. It had to be here. Number 19, Live from the Dentist Office. If you've been following me even before I started this channel, like if you were somebody that followed my Twitter when I had like 200 followers or something, you are a real one. But also, you will know somehow, if you were there, that I've always loved Injury Reserve. I've always championed them. And Live from the Dentist's Office is one of the most underrated mixtapes of the 2010s for sure. I am including mixtapes, in case you hadn't already noticed, in this list. I think albums, mixtapes, there's not a massive amount of difference between them really nowadays, so I think it's worth including them on here. And Injury Reserve are just too talented not to be included. Groggs is rapping, super personal. You've got Richie with a T, who's funny but also very sharp and direct, and knows how to just spin an incredible hook. Like, some of the hooks on this album are like so good. I don't know how these guys haven't blown up from how good their music is really. Like, Everybody Knows, Washed Up, Yo, incredible, man. Just absolutely incredible. Yeah, I absolutely love what they do. Super charismatic. Parker Corey's production is outrageously skillful and unique. I can't really say enough good about these guys. Next, I got Future. Self-titled Future. Look, there's going to be some eye rolls on this comment section, or maybe in your face when you're watching me, because I know some people will be surprised to see the one Future album I've gone for is his self-titled. And that's not to say I don't love DS2 or I don't love Monster. They were very close, trust me. They're probably like in the 26 to 30 range, both of them, if I'm being honest. But I had to keep it to 25. And I've just always had a soft spot for Future, man. Like, this album is so underrated. Obviously, Mask Off is one of his biggest songs, but the production is super hard hitting on this album. It doesn't get the respect it deserves for being how much of just a banger album this is. Nothing lets up. Everything is super like high voltage and high speed the whole time. Absolutely love it. And Future, in terms of a wordsmith or as a writer, not up there with the very best, but I'm not just fixating on those qualities for this list. I think there are other things that make, albums worth including on a hip-hop list, just that aren't about the writing. So yeah, of course he's not a better writer than someone like Eminem. I'm not trying to say that, but the enjoyment I get from this album, unmatched. Life of Pierre 5 and number 17. I know this one will be a bit of a surprise because I know some people did not like this. And again, Pierre as a writer or as a lyricist isn't really all that, but he has a lot of woozy and just psychedelic, intoxicating, addictive hooks that he finds ways into reaching into these weird little pockets on this album. Despite the fact that he is more known for a producer, I think he does a lot with his voice on this thing. And the production, well, Jesus Christ, I mean, you're getting everything you want for in his production here, like you would find in a Playboi Carti track. It's just all there. Super addictive, super melodic, has these really weird loops that are, again, really like ingrained in your brain. You feel like you're just being sucked into this universe in such a cool way. You've got like these transitions between tracks that are absolutely expertly done. It's really brilliant for me. I know this isn't going to be on anybody else's list, but I've just always had a soft spot for it. Number 16, Call Me If You Get Lost, Tyler. I did say there'd be more Tyler. Yeah, one of my favorite Tyler albums easily. I think it's just so balls to the wall, just like straight up, just braggadocious, punchy. He's not letting up on this album. It's not really the most lyrically expertly done album Tyler's ever done. You'd look at something like Chromacopia and think the writing on that is far better than what he's doing here. But I still think the writing is generally good. I just think he's just finding a way to be, unapologetically himself here, while just kind of letting you know that he's the shit. He's the shit on this album, man. The Minstrel Show at number 15, Little Brother. Love these guys. Why are they never mentioned in duo conversations? Truly amazing rappers, I think. Why? Why are they never mentioned? Super funny at times, very sardonic, tongue-in-cheek. Clearly the concept is very clear once you start listening to the album. Again, got those skits on there, which I have a soft spot for too. I think it's fantastic. At number 14, another Tyler album, may as well mention it here. We've got Wolf. I know you'll be very surprised to see that this is my favourite Tyler album. I have done a video on my worst to best albums for Tyler already. I explained it then. I think this one is just raw. It's rugged. It might not be his most finished or complete album, and for some people that's exactly why you wouldn't have it at his best. But yeah, for me personally, I don't know, man. I've just always had well, not always. Once I went back to it and gave it the time of day that it deserved, I realized that there was a lot going on here, because I think initially I was a bit dismissive, but since I've gone back to it, I've really found that there's a lot to love here, like in the production, a lot of the bars. I mean, he's still got that edginess to him, which I know some people are put off by, but it's not as bad as it was on Goblin, so it's more bearable and it's more enjoyable, and I think it works really well. How I got over the Roots, I think some people may want to see Undone, but I've always loved this one more. I think Undone is good though, but I think How I Got Over just has the better hooks, has the better writing overall, has the better production. I think this is a fantastic album. And then at number 12 we got Avondale Bowling Club, who I am sick of seeing disrespected. Tom Scott, similarly to Jeshi, is a very personal writer that knows how to fixate on those details that make you really relate and understand where he's coming from, as somebody that's not really, had it all in his life. But God, the talent is crazy. This guy is exceptional to me. In terms of like white rappers as well, I don't know why Tom Scott's never talked about, but yeah, I think this is an amazing album, and truly, like, at its core, a true jazz rap album, because jazz rap as a term gets thrown around a lot. But when you click play on the first track on this album and you hear how extravagant and how full the production is, it is literally just like a live jazz band with a guy rapping over it. It is really exceptional. So yeah, absolutely up there with the very best of jazz rap, 100%. Number 11, we got it for cheap, Volume 2. I absolutely love Clipse, and they were very unlucky to not have more than one album here. My God, the two albums that they dropped in the 2000s, again, probably in that 26 to 30 range thereabouts, because they are ridiculously close. But this mixtape for me is the best thing they ever put out. This mixtape is just basically them absolutely spitting fire over all kinds of different beats. It was a very, of its time when, mixtapes would drop in the 2000s and you'd have rappers just kind of picking out other rappers' beats to rap over. Lil Wayne did it a lot, of course, but yeah, I think this album is just full of fun. And Clipse, hopefully, because they are meant to be dropping something soon, so hopefully with that new release, that could be where the respect really comes for these guys, because they have incredible music across their career. At number 10, we got Modal Soul by Nujabes. Yes, we're into the top 10 now, and Nujabes is here at number 10 with Modal Soul. What can I say here? This is one of the most peaceful, at ease, homely, comforting rap albums of all time, with some amazing, delicate, stunning production that is just to die for, with not the most gifted or talented rappers rapping over the beats. I know that a lot of people make jokes about how corny these guys are, but it kind of works for what he's going for. It's so positive, it's so uplifting, it's so freeing, it's so calming and just tranquil. The whole thing, absolutely love it. Love what Nujabes did. Again, maybe unlucky not to have more than one placement on this list, but I just couldn't fit everything into this 25, because again, Nujabes has had multiple albums that could be here, to be honest with you. But another sad loss for hip-hop, because Nujabes is truly an exceptional talent. Number 9, Mos Def, another exceptional talent, and I think this is actually his best album, even though a lot of people do love Black on Both Sides, and I suppose he hasn't really dropped a massive discography, so it's probably not that far between these two if you were picking one or the other, really. But the Ecstatic, I think, is just ridiculously good, man. This production is amazing. So many unique, weird, off-kilter beats that he chooses. The amazing track Auditorium, which is one of the best hip-hop songs of all time, easily for me. Yeah, absolutely love what Mos Def was doing on this album. Such an underrated release, but this has to be top 10 for me personally. Number 8, Injury Reserve again with Floss. Yeah, I mean, you probably won't be too surprised here if you're somebody that's been watching what I do for a while, but Floss for me, I think, is just one of the most fun and energetic and playful and catchy hip-hop releases ever. Like, these hooks, Richie with a T, I was saying already about how good his hooks were on Live from the Dentist Office, but he was on crack on this album. Like, these hooks, like All This Money, oh shit, wow, Like, they are absolutely pummeling your brain, but they get stuck in your head so easily. That first run of like 5 songs at the start of this album is unmatched too. Truly one of the best runs on any album for me personally. But yeah, what they were doing here was ridiculously good. Parker Corey's production, Groggs with some amazing, again, personal bars. I know some people may want to see By the Time I Get to Phoenix, which I'm not really mad at if you included it on a list like this, but I've just always had a huge soft spot for those mixtapes, man. I don't think they ever quite captured the essence of those ever again. They weren't trying to with every release, obviously, but good God, Floss for me is an all-timer. Sometimes I Might Be Introvert from Little Simz at number 7. Yeah, absolutely immaculate album, this one. Absolutely stunning. Just has this huge scope, larger than life, super ambitious, this cinematic feel to the production the whole way through. And Little Simz is rapping incredibly well across this whole thing, my God. Tracks like Introvert, tracks like Woman, tracks like Two Worlds Apart, I Hate You, I Love You. Amazing stuff. The 2 tracks at the end I think are pretty underrated too. You know, the album is over an hour in length, but it doesn't waste a minute really. It's got bangers on here as well. It's got the zany moments like Fear No Man. Just got absolutely everything. People always want to combine Little Simz to being just a British rapper, or also being just a female rapper. Yeah, she's obviously both those things. I mean, Jesus, guys, that's kind of clear as day. But it doesn't stop her from being considered one of the very best at the moment out there. And I don't know, man. I think back to some of those British rap albums from the 2000s. Some really great ones, some really good ones. You know, Boy in the Corner. You've got freaking the Streets albums as well. Some from the 2010s. But like, I just look at them and think, are they really ever gonna reach the ambition that Little Simz really shot for on this album? They might make good music, and it's not to say that they're bad, but I just don't know if they've all got the vision to really undertake an album like this. Like the skits, the lyrics, everything about this album is so expertly done. It sounds magnificent, really, from front to end. The production and the sound of this album is just ridiculously good. Yeah, I don't know. Like, again, there are some talented rappers at the moment in the UK. There's some really popular ones, but I don't know if they'd ever make an album like this. Little Simz is different gravy, is basically what I'm trying to say. Number 6, we got Pinata, Freddie Gibbs, Madlib. When you're looking at like gangster rap albums, is there really one better than this from the 21st century? I mean, if you're going to answer that question in the comments and shout at me, go ahead. But I don't know if I'll agree with you, really, because what they did on this album is ridiculously good. Again, when you like talking about production and how an album sounds, this is so smoky, so slick. It's got this noir feel. It kind of feels like something that you'd, you know, have playing in the background of an episode of The Wire or something. Everything just feels so dark and mystique. It's all so well done through the brilliance of Madlib on this album. And then you've got Freddie Gibbs coming through with some amazing flows. He's absolutely rapping his ass off on this album, man. I don't think he's ever rapped this good. I think his solo stuff is okay, it's decent, and I think Bandana was cool too. And obviously Alfredo is very good. Alfredo is probably the closest that gets to this, I think, personally, from Freddie Gibbs' catalogue. But there's something about the way he's rapping on this album, man. It's just something else. Top 5 now, and we are entering another Kanye West album into the mix here. Late Registration. It has to be for me. Kind of similarly to what I was saying about, you know, the scope and the cinematic feel of Sometimes I Might Be Introvert just a few minutes ago. Kind of applies to Late Registration. You could maybe apply it to The College Dropout, but I think he amplified the sound and the style and the production quality on this album, and just went really big and really went and shot for it. Because, you know, while obviously one of the biggest songs on this album is Gold Digger, a bit more silly, a bit more funny, a bit more quirky, it doesn't represent the entire sound of this album. So if you think the whole thing sounds like this, then I would definitely implore you to re-listen to the album, because it doesn't really. But Heard 'Em Say, super amazing, immaculate production. Touch the Sky, Gone. So many great songs on here. I adore it. I think this is Kanye at his absolute very best. And while some people would maybe say that would be the case for My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, I like that album. I just don't think it's quite as quality consistent as this one here. So yeah, has to be for me. Good Kid, Mad City at number 4. Guys, come on. It's not really... Okay, is there much of a debate here? I remember one time in the comments of one of my like shorts videos, somebody couldn't believe that I put Good Kid, Mad City. I can't remember, I think it was over a 50 Cent album or something. I was like, are we for real? Like, what? Good Kid, Mad City is definitely in the all-timer discussions. It was like, what are we doing, man? It absolutely deserves to be this high up. Good Kid, Mad City is remarkable. Really showed how you can be conscious and interesting and lyrical and have an amazing concept, but while also just maintaining like the accessibility of it all. Like, I don't know how you can really manage this. I think Lupe has remained quite bitter about Kendrick for a long time for this reason, because Lupe couldn't really master the art of maintaining a huge following and a huge mainstream output while also being super lyrical and super in depth and super, you know, unique in that sense as well. And that's not an attack on Lupe at all. It's just a more of a general observation, because like being able to come up with this concept and, you know, setting it out from front to back and pulling it off like this, but still being one of the biggest selling rap albums ever, it is pretty remarkable, really. It's kind of an anomaly in that sense, but yeah, I think it's just as good as everyone says. It's amazing. What else can be said about it? We are in the top 3 now, man, and we are at Madvillainy. Another album that I feel like, what can I say that's adding to the conversation? Like, Madvillainy is just amazing, isn't it? The production, the short, snappy to the point instrumentals, the loops, the weird and off the wall and completely, utterly chaotic nature of MF Doom's, you know, bars and the rhyme schemes. Everything's just so like otherworldly on this album. Like, you can't really find this anywhere else, can you? Like, sure, you can find Madlib production elsewhere, but like this, and having this aura to it, this kind of villainous aura, this comic book feel aura to it, that in the way that MF Doom did, is just crazy. So yeah, I think this is a no-brainer, really. I think a lot of people would have it high up on their 21st century list as well, and I can't really add to the discussion what hasn't already been said. So yeah, number 2, we got it from here. Thank You for Your Service, A Tribe Called Quest, and this is still their best album. I'm saying it, man. I think the way they came back and sounded as good as they ever did with this album, and has so many unique angles to go from on this album. It's, you know, socio-political. It's got some really interesting observations on society on this album. It's got bangers. It's got some slow down moments. The feature inclusions are ridiculously good. I think this is honestly up there, one of the best albums for features I've ever heard. Like, you got Kendrick, you got Kanye, you got Anderson .Paak. Like, what the hell were they cooking up with these features, man? I cannot believe how good they are. But I love that about it too, because it feels like it's their goodbye album, and it's also them passing the torch onto the new generation. They say on one of the tracks, Q-Tip says on one of the tracks, you know, the gatekeepers of flow, the new gatekeepers of flow, Kendrick, Cole and Earl Sweatshirt. And it's almost like them saying, we've done our bit now. This is our last showing. An ode to Phife Dawg as well. We're passing it on. It's like their kind of victory lap, if that's kind of the way to describe it, really. And yeah, it's wonderful. I think it's executed really brilliantly well. I think the production and everything and the rapping is just fantastic as well. Like, even all of those other things wouldn't make this album so good if it just didn't sound as good as it did too, and the rapping wasn't so good. So yeah, for me, I think it's definitely up there with the very best. And we're closing out now with number 1. And guys, look, there's no hot takes or surprises here. There may be with some of these other lists, but it's just To Pimp a Butterfly. I can't even lead up to it and try and shake you off and make you think it's going to be something else. Oh, is it going to be that? Guys, it's To Pimp a Butterfly. I'm sorry, it just has to be To Pimp a Butterfly. This is truly one of the greatest achievements we've ever experienced in the world of hip-hop music. It's an album that is so remarkable and unique that people to this day, and I don't want it to sound pretentious, but people generally are still not getting this album. I'm seeing people call it slave music, which is outrageous and racist and crazy to say. And people just still don't get what he was doing here. And I'm not trying to be all high and mighty because I get it and you don't, and I'm smarter than all you other fans. No, Kendrick was just attempting to achieve something that has very much never been done. Like these skits and the way he combines his own worldview and how he brings together this poem at the end and speaks to Tupac but doesn't really get the answers. It's just a remarkable album with incredible production. The funkiness, the jazziness. This is like a musicianship like gold mine. Like when you hear tracks like Wesley's Theory, These Walls, if you're just like a massive nerd for like music production, you cannot be absolutely blown away by the musicianship here. It's just remarkable. And yeah, that doesn't even come down to some of the actual individual tracks or the actual individual rapping performances, like Blacker the Berry. Fucking hell, what a song that is. So harsh, so just visceral. Like, how did Drake hear Blacker the Berry and not think he'd be absolutely tore to shreds? How did he hear you and not think he'd be tore to shreds? Kendrick can tear himself to shreds before you can. You can't tear down the guy that knows how to tear himself down. You are mad. Absolutely crazy, but amazing stuff. Just can't really be anything else for me. It's an obvious pick, but come on. That is it from me. These are my 25 favourite hip-hop albums of the 21st century so far. So if you want to see me do even more genres, I can keep going. You got to gas this video up, you got to share it around and make this worthwhile, because these take a lot of time. They're taking a lot of my own free time, by the way. This isn't a full-time thing for me. I say a lot. This is not a full-time gig for me. I don't get massively paid, full-time wages to do this. I have amazing support on my Patreon, which helps me keep going, but otherwise, yeah, this is not a full-time thing. So if you want to see more videos, please share this one around. Please give it a lot of love, and let me know your lists as well, because I'd love to see how different they would look, because there were lots of omissions that I think people will be surprised to not see here. I really love Jay-Z, and he didn't make it on here, which I know some people will think is crazy, but this was my own personal list, and I can't wait to be tore to shreds. So thank you for watching. As always, subscribe, check out more videos, have a good day, and goodbye.